Hey, everybody. It is me, Mama the Angel, and we are live at Angel Meadows, Conversation with Friends. And let me just get everybody to reboot in the chat room so they can hear us. My guest this evening is none other than John Cassidy. Now, John Cassidy, amongst other things, he is a medium. He's a paranormal investigator. And a really nice guy because he said yes to me. I've been talking to this all week long because I was like, if I just ask people, they'd be kind of going like, who is this crazy lady? John, you there?
I am here.
Okay, good. Yay, people can hear us in the chat room. How is it sound, people in the chat room? Getting an answer. Okay, I have an echo. Oh well, deal with the echo. I'm not sure what it is. I'm not going to fight with it today. No, it's not. Okay, I don't know why I have an echo. Because if I mute that, so I shall learn to deal with these problems one day at a time. Okay, so John, first off, I keep tripping over your name all week long, and the only reason why is because back in my younger days, I had this thing for David Cassidy from the Partridge Family. So I kept coming to say your name and come out with David first, and I was like, no. So if you see my lives and I'm tripping over your name, it's not because I don't remember who you are. It's just I keep thinking David Cassidy in that smooth voice.
That happens a lot, actually.
Does it? Okay.
It does, yeah. Especially the older, over 40 generation.
Okay, cool. Thank you. You just covered it yourself. You just saved bacon, people.
And I always say, he's a cousin. He's not myself, but that's okay. You can mess up the name once in a while.
Well, I kept repeating it, so I think I got it down to science. I gotta have to hopefully. If I call you David at some point, you'll just like, Darlene, behave.
Yep, and sadly, we just lost him not too long ago.
I know.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Eric, he did not call me older. He said over 40, so that covers it.
I was careful on how I worded that.
Yeah, because I always end up becoming good friends with the wives, and the wives usually smack the husbands for me. So be nice. So I'll have Jackie smack you.
Yeah. I'm 50, so I can say that.
Yeah, but I'm still older than you. Okay, for all my friends that are listening and all the friends in the chat room, can you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, born and raised in northern Michigan, Petoskey, of course, and beautiful area. Love it here. Born in '68, so 50 years old now. And I didn't really get into the paranormal until about the age of 30. It was about 1999. And I started having all of these weird visions, and when I was chatting with a friend on chat, which back then was really slow, I started getting all of these images and stuff, and of an older lady, and I started telling her about them, and her reply was, okay, now you're freaking me out. And I continued with it, and we conversed back and forth about it, and come to find out it was her grandma. I mean, it was like I was in the room. I could see where her body was laying, what she was wearing, how they found her, and described the house. I described the house when Amy, my friend, was a child, and a little window that she would sit in and watch the rain and stuff like that. And I have the printout still. I mean, it's quite extensive, and it totally freaked me out. I mean, I broke down because of the emotion that I was feeling, and you know how I was seeing this stuff and why, and everything else, and why it actually made sense, and so my wife Jackie and I, we started kind of researching it very slowly because of the internet back then, but over the years we were trying to piece it together, and more things happened, and so we just started investigating. Started out like a lot of people do, with cemeteries, old buildings, things like that. And then we realized, once we started seeing these TV shows come out, how much we can help people with it. Not just the ability end of it, because back then I really kept it quiet. But the investigating end, and trying to help clients in their homes that are having problems and things like that. So that was pretty much how I got into it. And I really didn't, I'll say, come out of the paranormal medium closet until 2013, when we did our first event here in town. And I did a radio show before that, and I kind of set it on the air, and it was a very large, popular radio show. So, it went all over the country, and and I thought, well, that's out. People are going to think I'm a freak now, and just the opposite. So I was really pleased with that. And then I met Scotty Rorick. I met Cassidy Ray. We had them as a guest at our event. Scotty took me under his wing and became my mentor. Cassidy was like a mentor to me. She was their, 14-year-old medium, and she's my mentor. I thought that was pretty cool, actually. And so those two really helped get me out and, be open with it and things like that. So.
Now, you said Scotty and Cassidy both helped you out, and Cassidy was a 14-year-old medium?
At the time, she was, yeah. 2013. Now she's 18 and in college. But she was a special guest that we had at our show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everything happens for a reason. Well, 99% of things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that her stepdad at the time was kind of her agent, and said, hey, I think Cassidy Ray would be a great addition to your event. Okay, this is our first time. I don't know who she is, but you sound like she's a pretty impressive medium for her age. So we brought her in, and she really was there for me quite a bit when I needed that little bit of boost, or when we were doing investigations with her at times. When I needed someone to put her hand on my shoulder and pull the energy away from me and say, okay, step back, take a breath. So between her and Scotty Rorick, they were huge on actually getting me out and being open about it.
It's funny because every time I hear your name, I also hear Scotty and Cassidy's name. So it's really cool that you speak of them the way everybody else speaks of the three of you together, the three names.
Oh yeah, yeah, they were huge. I mean, I sat down with Scotty, and I won't go into details, but I ended up reading him, and we're in the room both in tears, and he said, I'm taking you under my wing. I'm gonna be your mentor. I'm gonna be here for you, and I've since gotten to the point where I don't need to call him as often, but I know that if I needed to, I could. And, he'd be there to help me still.
Well, I put in the chat room one of your posters that you have coming up. I believe it's next weekend. Bumps in Night, the Little Traverse Bay Parrot Fest, October 12th and 13th.
Yes.
Okay. You are a co-founder of Bumps in the Night and Little Traverse Bay Parrot Fest. Tell me a little bit about both of them, but start with the Bumps in the Night. I've heard a lot. I've heard that name quite a bit. So tell me about it.
Well, going back to when I did that first, I look at it now and realize it was a reading, but when Jackie and I started researching and trying to figure this whole thing out, is when we kind of started investigating, and when a friend of ours joined, we brought her on as a group member. We thought, well, we should probably have a name, and back then, I'll be the first to admit, we weren't as serious as we are now, because we did a lot of cemeteries, and I think it really did start out as being fun, and I'm glad that we were able to see what it's all about and actually take it serious. But I said, hey, we need a group name, and I truthfully don't even know who came up with the name, but thought, we investigate things that go bump in the night, so Bumps in the Night sounds pretty cool. So we called ourselves Bumps in the Night Paranormal Research Group, and we've kind of shortened it a little bit and dropped the group, but a lot of times we just go by Bumps in the Night, but people are kind of familiar with the name. So that's how that all started. And we're a half dozen members deep right now. We kind of like it small because then we don't have, any drama and stuff like that. And most of them are good friends, and not that there's always drama, but sometimes
I think there's drama in everything to a certain extent, and unfortunately, there's a lot of that stuff going around right now. Okay, we'll get back to the drama side of it, but now I take notes as we speak. Otherwise, I'm like a cat. If I see something shiny, I'll zip off.
I understand that.
So, Little Traverse Bay Parafest. Now that's the name of your website, which I forgot to put into the chat room. I've been at this for a while as a host, but I'm still just me. So if anybody gets, like, she's not professional. I'm not a professional. I'm just me. So, okay. So, Little Traverse Bay Parafest. It's your website, but it's also more. I think I lost you.
I'm here still.
Okay. It went very quiet. So tell me about. Tell me a little bit about how you came up with the name and the site, Little Traverse Bay.
Primarily for Bumps in the Night, we use a Facebook page, Bumps in the Night. But the website itself, Little Traverse Bay Parafest, is the paranormal conference that we do every year. We called it a Parafest instead of a Paracon. To us, it just seemed, it is a conference, but I don't know. Paranormal Festival just sounded more festive, I guess.
Okay.
And so this will be number 6 next week. And we actually just went into the Terrace Inn here in Petoskey, a well-known haunted inn. and was talking to the owners because I wanted to kind of see if, I could do, a walkthrough or something like that. And we started talking about it, and the one owner, Patty, she said, what would be kind of neat is if we did a paranormal weekend, a haunted weekend, where people could, come in, they pay a little extra, and they go on a little investigation of the building and stuff like that. I said, well, that's kind of hard to do when the building's open for business, but I have a better idea. What if we did like a little mini conference? I know a few people in the field at that time, very few, about a half dozen. And I said, well, maybe we can get them together and, put a little conference together. So came home, talked to my wife about it. We made some calls, and all of a sudden we had, half dozen people lined up who wanted to come up to it. And I wasn't really familiar with any events going on in this area at that time. There was, and I'm glad we're aware of it now, but at that time I wasn't. So all of a sudden we have 12 or 13 people that are signed up for this thing. And we did it on a first weekend of October. We called it Little Traverse Bay Parafest because we live on the beautiful Little Traverse Bay of Michigan, Lake Michigan. And I don't know, the name just kind of stuck. We wanted something that would, stick to the community too, so that we, put ourselves out there as where we're located. And when Friday came, the day of the event,
Mm-hmm.
I told my wife, I said, I don't know about you, but I'm not doing this again. It sounds like fun, but it was a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, as fun as it was, I don't want to do this again. And we were so overwhelmed with the attendees that we had, the guests that we brought in, and the way people just loved it, And come Saturday, people are saying, so we're going to do this again next year, and thinking, yeah, actually, we've already started planning it. So by the next day, we're already planning next year's, and it just kind of stuck. I'm glad we did continue with it. We met so many incredible people, and it just opened the doors to bring in, new people, meet new people. And our primary goal is we certainly don't do it for the money, because every year we lose money. And if we can change or touch one life over that weekend, then I feel and Jackie feels that we've done what we set out to do. And every year I think it happens. I mean, there seems to be a lot of people that go out of there and will comment about, I'm glad I came. We had people that have come and said, I don't even know why I came. I just saw it, bought a ticket, and bam, here I am. But the minute they leave there, they know why they came. It was life-changing for them. So
It is. I like your the decision that you make, that so long as you can help one person. I think a lot of people forget about that, and they sit there and they go, well, like there's only 50 people came, we wanted 100, a couple of hundred, but what they forget is that whether it's one person or 100 or 1,000, you're still speaking to that one person.
mm-hmm.
So you're still gearing everything, the knowledge that you have that you want to share, to one person. Even if you're speaking to a room full, and God forbid I speak to a room full of people, but if you're speaking to a room full of people, you want to just sort of focus that you're helping one person. I look at it that my show helps one person, whether it's the person in the chat room now or whether it's somebody who's listening into it in the archives. I know that there's one person that's that's going to be helped in some way with the shows that I do. So yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting. And I love the shows because then I get to meet new people. People who have the last name of Cassidy and not the first name of David.
That's right.
Now, many times you have mentioned your wife in our conversation. How did you meet your wife? And did she know, does she have any abilities, gifts? And did she know about you and what you could see do before you got married?
No. We met at the local college here, actually, in a class. We had the same class together, and we were both in emergency medicine, and we were taking a specialist course to become emergency medical specialist. And we were both in the same class, and that's kind of actually how we met. And we, kind of got to talking a little bit, and I was kind of directing the transport services division of our ambulance service here. And I said, yeah, you should apply. And she put in for it and got the job and everything. And, people shouldn't date when they're at work, but after her first day there was our first date. So we just kind of, hit it off from there. And even though I was her boss, we were able to work well together. And it just took off from there. I mean, we fell madly in love. So a year later, 1998, August 98, we got married. We just celebrated 20 years last August. So yeah, she's still in EMS. She currently runs one of the big box pet supply stores, but she still holds her EMS license. I'm still in EMS as a profession. But
Now, EMS is emergency medical services, right?
yes, yep.
Okay. So you're like a paramedic?
Emergency medical technician, which is just a little bit lower than a medic. Paramedics in Michigan can, administer drugs and stuff like that. But so yeah, that was my career for 22 years. I was in administration for quite a while. Then in 2007, I got smart, got out of administration, and went back on the road. A very smart thing to do.
It's not an easy job. I have another friend who was a first responder over in the UK, and I know that he's affected greatly by some of the people that he has to not treat, but to deal with. Treat, I guess, is a word as well. And sometimes it's a thankless job. So but I also know that sometimes people are extremely happy to have you around. So I'm sure you've had that where people are like, not too sure as to how to deal with you, but thank you for them. So thank you.
Well, thank you. It is, yeah. It can be, quite a thankless job, but we look at it too of when these families are in stress, their loved ones hurt or their loved ones died. We know where their head is, so we don't expect a thank you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a look that they give us, or sometimes they'll just give us a hug or something, and they don't even know what to say. But yeah, there's a lot of times where you just feel like it's thankless just because you want to save everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know that God has a plan and it's in His will, but when you lose somebody, you still go through everything in your head of thinking, what could we have done different, if anything?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Now, Now, I've known quite a few people over my time that say, "Oh, I'm always on," or those people who, like I'm always open to spirit. Now, and I know that I also have a good friend in the chat room, Eric Glenn, who says if you're open to spirit 24/7, you go loopy to loopy, and Eric's halfway there. But when you're working at what we call your day job with the EMS, does spirit ever get involved, or are you able to keep that completely separate-ish?
For the most part, I can. I think I just, out of habit, just push it away now. And I think that the spirit knows what's going on, and I think that when we're there, I think they realize, okay, I'm there as an emergency medical technician. It would not be right of me to, pull people aside and, try to make contact and relay messages and things like that. And I think for the most part, the spirit realizes that, Sometimes we've gone into a house and I've seen the person there, and standing with their family. And, I pretty much know that they're gone and they're crossed over
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of times we still have to work. If it looks workable, we still have to work it, CPR and all that. And then there's been times that I have walked in and had one of the spirits talking to me. So that freaked me out. that was kind of weird. But we're doing CPR on this guy, and you know how it works. I mean, they don't all of a sudden on the floor open their eyes and move their mouth, but I hear him say, "You realize this isn't going to work, right?" And so in my mind, I'm replying and saying, "Yeah, but we have to make the effort, for the family." And there really does come a time when in your heart and medically that, okay, this person is gone. But there might be a drug that just happens to turn him or her around.
Mm-hmm.
So we do everything we can. We administer those meds. And then if that doesn't work, med control, allows us to call it and stuff like that. So I said, we're here. We're going to do what we can for your family, and let them know that we are making this attempt. But in my heart, I do know that you're gone. And he told me he was okay with it. He was just waiting. He knew it was coming, and he said that the thing that I hate about it though is my grandson found me,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, yeah, I could see that. And he told me what he was doing. He was working out. He walked over. Not going to give any names, so it's
Mm-hmm.
not giving out anything that people are going to recognize. And he just collapsed on the couch face first. And his grandma said to the grandson, "Go down and get Grandpa, and wake him up for dinner, or bring him up, have him come up for dinner." He was working out. He goes down there and comes back up, says, "He's not waking up for me." "What do you mean he's not waking up?" "He's sleeping on the couch." So they go down there, and she can't pull him to the floor, so she calls 911. First responder ends up coming to the house first and pulling him to the floor and starting CPR. But so, he kind of told me this whole story. One of the officers comes down after talking to the wife and, asked us our questions that they normally ask, and anything suspicious, blah, blah, blah. Everything looked normal, and he said, "Yeah, it's terrible." He goes, "The 5-year-old grandson found him," and proceeded to tell me the same story that this guy just told.
The gentleman just told you. Mm-hmm.
But immediately after he told me that story, he literally just says, "Well, I got to go," and was gone. And it was so bizarre. It's one of the runs that sticks out in my head more than any of them.
That would sound like something that would stick in your head because it's just you think about the 5-year-old, but you also think about that this guy just sort of blurted, kind of sort of told you everything that happened, and said, "Okay, ciao, see you later."
Yeah.
Okay, I got places to
To make it
go.
known. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very interesting.
Now, you do investigations with not only just your team, but I believe you do with other teams as well.
Yeah, we work with other teams in the area, in the state, sometimes in other states. A friend of mine has a team over in Wisconsin, and he's brought me in on cases over there. I've worked remotely with the Winnipeg Paranormal Group. Some dear friends of ours have that, and I've worked with them remotely over the phone before.
As in Winnipeg, Canada?
Yeah, yep.
Cool.
And so that was very interesting, to do the remote thing like that. So yeah, we try to work with groups around here, and if they're in areas that we don't cover because of Parafest and going to other people's events, we've met so many groups, and we didn't really realize, one, how many groups there really was, but how many groups out there were like us, who it's not a competition, it's not a business, it's not who can get, the most cases, it's what can we do to help that client, and we'll often make phone calls to other groups and say, hey, this isn't our area, it's really far for us to travel, is this something that you want to take on, but we found when these other groups, I couldn't even start to name all of them, but many of them in Michigan, when they come to our event, it's just one big happy family, and I don't know what it is about Michigan, because I've heard other people talk about groups in other states that don't do that, or other events that don't do that. I mean, we have half dozen or better events in the state here, and we try to promote them all, and they promote us, and it's not about who can sell the most tickets. Is okay, you can't make it here, but you can make it to Old Mill Parafest in Dundee in November. That was a plug, in case Tim's listening. That was a total plug.
Okay, if I hadn't thought about it, I would have had to poster.
And that they might be affected. They might touch a life. They might be touched. They might. They're going to meet people there that are going to help them in the long run, or they're going to help somebody. And this year we're giving out passes to 4 of the other major events in our state, and Toledo. Toledo is like our state. I consider Toledo, Ohio, our state because they're just over the border. They touch us. They're fine. But Midwest Paracon and Parafest in Toledo, we're giving tickets out for that. We've been there. We go there every year, and they're just great events, and everybody should work together, whether it's an event or a group. That's what we're in it for.
Yeah, I happen to agree. Have you noticed since you've been, especially for the past couple of weeks, I've noticed it, that since you started that is there more teams working together than there are, as we said, working the drama?
I think so. From the groups that we see, I think so. There's two people that we haven't even met yet. We're going to meet them next weekend when they come to our event. They have Cherry Capital Paranormal down in Traverse City, which isn't far from us. And when he reached out to us, Daniel reached out to us and about the event, and when I got back to him on it, we just started talking back and forth, like we've known each other for a long time. And we find that personally with all of the area groups and the groups that we deal with throughout the state. And I think that we see it more because we do see these people at these events, but yeah, we've had groups call us before and or email and say, hey, this isn't our area. We noticed that you're up in that area. Is that something that you'd be willing to take on? And I don't know about other states because I'm really not familiar with a lot of the groups from other states, one or two here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But something about Michigan groups where it's like one big happy paranormal family.
Well,
I do call them family too.
Yeah, I think there should be a yellow pages of paranormal groups.
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm one of those people, like I always say, it's my unicorns part butterflies and rainbows. And I'm not saying, I somehow regret saying this because I said it to Jay. Yes, there is a smell that comes along with the fart, but there's always, there's always the butterflies and rainbows. I think that the groups should work together. I think this community of paranormal investigators, paranormal teams, and the mediums and the psychics and the light workers and everybody in general. I'm swinging my hands. You can actually see what I'm saying. We should work together because working against each other doesn't do service to your clients, to the world in general. There's enough stuff, and I'm spelling that differently than I'm saying it, going on in this world these days that if we need to get together, we need to combine our abilities and our work to make this place as much better as possible. Such a lovely language.
Totally agree.
But then, like I said, a lot of people sit there and go, "No, that's not possible. There's too many egos involved." Egos are one thing. Everybody's allowed to have the way I look at it, everybody's allowed to have an ego. Just don't live by the egotistic lifestyle. Like I know what I'm doing. I'm good at Angel Meadows. I'm good at this show that I do, but there are other people who are just as good and better and. And it's for me, it's just sharing what we need to get out there, Yeah. And I think that the drama that I've been watching on Facebook lately is really scary because, there's good people out there and they want to help. And for some reason or another, somebody, doesn't like you, like, I don't like John because his name should have been David Cassidy. I don't, but it irks me to say the least. I'm very frustrated with that. So.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. No reason that we should be competing against each other.
No, because yes, we work for our, like I know the paranormal investigations is a little bit different than mediums and like it's still a little bit different. That it doesn't pay your bill, but it does help for those people who charge. But it's also about there's young teams coming up nowadays and they may not do it right, but because they've got no one around to show them, wherever they are. So if you have a team like your team, for example, says, okay, they call you up and say, hey, we have an investigation, but we're not sure how to do it because we're new at this. Could you give us, some help? And I'm sure that you guys would sit there and go, yeah, okay, that's not a problem because that's your style.
Mm-hmm.
You're willing to help in any which way that you can. It's like I've never been on investigation. I I'm learning to have a lot of friends in the investigation field, and I keep telling them that I'm likely going to be the one that stands and screams at the drop of a hat. So normally I'm not a nervous type person. Like people try and scare me at work, my regular day job, and it just like I'm like, yeah, what? It doesn't. But I think it would be different if I went on an investigation. So I'm learning from a lot of friends, and I'm making a lot of new acquaintances. Unfortunately, my favorite is Tim, and that's only because Marie's such a cutie. Tim Miley, and I think that we need to put aside the I'm better than you type of attitude and just get shit together and get help and shit.
Very much so.
But I just got on my soapbox. I'm sorry. Let me just get down off of it.
Oh no, I totally agree with you.
You do work with the teams, but do you also do individual readings? Like if somebody calls you and says, I would like a mediumship reading, set an appointment with you.
Not as much as I should, probably. And I don't know, maybe there is that denial still there, even after years, that part of me that says, this really can't be true,
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll have some doubts, and I try not to, but I do. And I think that as with anybody else, I have my days where there's just too much on my mind to focus, and things just don't come through like they would, on any other day. So I don't really set myself up. Sometimes people will get a hold of me on chat or Facebook or something, and things will start to come out, and then we'll talk and stuff. But I was doing a radio show for a while. I did give that up for the summer. Kind of actually maybe hoping to get back into it. And we would take calls. And like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So at events, I don't set up a table, and I don't, do readings and stuff like that. It just kind of happens to be someone comes up to me and we're talking, and then all of a sudden I'm pulling them away and asking them questions, and it just becomes kind of a cold read. But or sometimes I'll say something, my wife will look at me and she just turns around and walks away because she knows what that means. I'm getting something and I'm about to give a reading. So,
Have you ever had something come through while you're talking with somebody and they kind of go, no, no, they don't want to hear it?
No, not that I can think of right off the top of my head. There was actually there's a person that I just logged into the chat finally. There's a person that I'll just say I know, who is very religious, doesn't believe in being able to communicate, and there's things in his Bible that says that that's not right, and he never would say anything about it, and get mad about it or anything else. But he's a younger guy in his younger 20s, and there was one day that his sister was coming through, and I just kind of broke the ice and said, I know that you don't really believe in this stuff, but and I was telling him some things about his sister, and even right down to, why is she showing me a box of Kraft macaroni and cheese? Well, she died at 13,
okay.
And that was one of the things that she just loved love
I
to
can
eat.
see.
And literally afterwards he said, thank you for that. I don't know what to think, and he was honest about it, but he said, because my beliefs are that shouldn't happen, but what you told me is impossible for anyone to guess. It just wasn't stuff that, even if I researched his family, that I would find online. So he was kind of floored, and he didn't reject it, but he was, whenever I see him, he still gives me that look.
Oh yeah, I know that look.
Yeah, but it didn't change his attitude towards me, and one day he may just come up and say, hey, let's talk a little more about that.
Yeah.
But I think it really opened his eyes of, is his sister coming through and saying all that? Because it's certainly stuff he's never talked about, had no reason to talk about, and just, I don't know, half dozen different things. But he never really gave me that, he didn't shrug me off or anything and say, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. I've had a gentleman in my life, when he found out he's a minister, and he said his comment was, well, how do you know that your angels are not demons? Because, and he proceeded to quote one of the verses of the Bible, and I said, it's what I believe. I said, and you believe what you believe. I can't make you see it from my angle, and no more than I can see it from, your angle. So we're going to agree to disagree and not discuss this anymore, because he's a client, he's a customer where I work. I work at a gas station convenience store. And he said, you think you can do that? I said, I know I can. So now every day he'll come in, not every day, but when he comes in, there's also a donut shop connected in my building. He'll go upstairs and he'll have a meeting with somebody. And the first time he did that, he was, is there a problem, darling? I went, are you eating all those donuts all by yourself? So I just sort of didn't go to where he thought it was going to go, and he was fine with it. I know that he's very careful. He doesn't follow me on Facebook, but his wife does. So I'm okay, it's like I have nothing to worry about. I was like, when I first started, like you, I kind of thought people were going to think I was a little bit, loopier than I am. And so I didn't, so that's how I created Mama D, and I love because I always say I came out of my closet and you used it too, but you came out a year after me. You were still in the closet when I was out here screaming, yelling at people. But it's nice when people see sort of like, it's like, I don't believe before, but you've given me something to think about. When you give them something to think about, like they're like, kind of like, no, I can't believe that. But then all of a sudden, you see not the light bulb go on, but the flicker of a light over their head, and I just sort of let it go, and they'll either get it or they won't, and I think that's great when you, like I said, when you turn the light on, when you allow them to see that flicker of light, that like a neon light when it starts to go, that starts to come on. It's not all full force at first. Yep.
I don't push it on people, so I don't bring it up to every single person that I see.
Yeah.
But if they're open to it and they bring it up or they ask questions, then I'll certainly, talk to them about it. But I don't like to bring it up around people, and I don't wear a shirt that says I see dead people, to get conversation going. But somebody will tell somebody, and they'll come up, hey, what is this about? And then we'll have a good conversation about it. And that made me think too. There's one of my wife's very dear friends, one of her best friends, does what she can to avoid being in the same room as I am.
Okay.
Not because she doesn't believe or thinks that I'm a freak or something. She just does not want to hear from her mother. So
Ooh.
she'll hide because she's, kind of afraid of that. But even her and I have had good conversations, and, I told her some things that only her and her mother would know, and so I don't think she's as nervous now, but yeah, I think she thinks that every time I'm in the room, I'm her mom's standing next to me, and we're gonna bombard her with different stuff, and so it is kind of funny how that does work.
Yeah. Well, that was I have this lovely habit of doing Facebook Live sometimes, and that was one of my conversations that people are not always on, and I had no way to use any other word for it. As like, a friend of mine and I, we go to have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, or in the restaurant, and she's a medium, and I told her one time, I said, okay, we're gonna go have coffee, tell Spirit to stay home. There's no readings going on. It's just you, me, two girls sitting down having a coffee in a public place. And if Spirit comes over, I'm gonna shoot. He better be paying the bar bill. But it's funny how, like you said, the woman used to stay away from you because she thought that you would, pop over and go, hey, by the way, but we're not always on. People are not always on. We do, you do need to, have a moment of, okay, it's just me, it's just John and Jackie, and we're going out for, a cup of coffee, and Spirit, thank you, but do not walk into my bubble, please. I'm not ready for it. I want to, have a chill out and relax time.
Yeah, I try to do that, and most of the time it works, but you know how it is where you'll see the little old man sitting at the table, and you see his spirit of his wife sitting across from him, and then I'll start to feel bad about it, and I feel like I should go over there, but I just can't walk up to somebody. I halfway social anxiety disorder, and I get nervous around people in general, so it wouldn't be easy to do that. Although there's times that I wish I could have, because I think that's probably what that person needed. But
Yeah.
It's just not in me to do that.
You're not as I call it, a TV medium. Not that there's anything wrong with the TV medium, because they're great people, but the what the producers and the editors do to cut and paste, that's what makes them look like, they're always on.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Jenny in the chat room says so many mediums have some form of anxiety. She thinks it's the energies, the different energies. And just for the FYI, I don't see like the elder Drew and his wife's spirit to fix them. I don't have that gift or ability. I just get shivers and I do I do my thing. But
Yeah.
I know what you mean, because it's funny how when you go places and you just kind of sort of, for me, I'll see somebody and something will just sort of, I call it a smack upside the back of the head. And it's like, okay. The first time that happened to me at work, like I said, I work at a very busy place, and this woman kept coming in, and I would get these very intense shivers. And one time I just said, okay, if you want me to talk to her, I have to have nobody in my store. Nobody. Which is a near impossibility, because I'm a gas station,
Yeah.
And at the time we were like one of two, And one day I saw her pull up, and I kind of went, okay. And I looked around, and there was a single person in the store. There wasn't a single person at the gas pump. And I went, okay, don't be sure, So I had a little conversation with her. People know a little bit about me, and I said, I'm not, I don't know why this is, but I have to give you a hug. And she said, yes, she accepted the hug. And she started to cry, and I said, I'm sorry. I said, did I do something wrong? She goes, no. She says, the way you did it and the feeling that I got, it wasn't you hugging me, it was my daughter. And I said, well, I hope that helps. I didn't do anything different the way than I normally do, like to hug my children, hug my husband.
Mhm.
And she was like, so, but I never saw her after that, but I know that somebody said she was doing a whole lot better because unfortunately her daughter had died in very weird circumstances, to say the
Oh.
least. So, and so it was like, and that was my first like, holy gee moment.
Mhm.
But, so yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's difficult for like I said, for you see them. Eric, who's no longer in the chat room, because he went to bed, he's over in the UK. He sees his spirit guide, his guide. He's always with him, and he's a bit of a handful. You know. Do you work with guides, or you just work with spirit in general?
um, it's funny actually. Lately, I have been, and I didn't realize it. Um, it's been a couple of years now, actually. I shouldn't say lately, but I was feeling like I was striking out. And usually I'll see spirit, hear spirit, feel spirit, and
Mhm.
I'll also, the empath, I feel other people's emotions. So not only am I feeling their emotion, but the spirit's emotion as well. So it can be very emotional for me. But I felt like I was striking out. I did a couple of radio shows, and they just went okay, but maybe it wasn't one of those nights. But sometimes the people wouldn't connect to the person that I was seeing.
Yeah.
And I was with Scotty Rorick down in Posttown in Middletown, Ohio, Posttown Elementary School. We were doing an event down there. And I talked to him and I said, Scotty, I feel like I'm striking out, and I'm seeing these spirits, but they're not making sense to these people. And he knew exactly what I was talking about. And he goes, you know who they are, don't you? And I said, no, that's why we're talking, because I don't, I feel like I need to step away from it, and maybe it was just a phase. Maybe it never really happened. Maybe I'm crazy or something. And he said, you know what they are. And I said, no. And he looked at me and he said, what are they? And instantly I just said, spirit guides. And he said, yeah.
Mhm.
He goes, that's why they don't connect, because it's not a loved one. So after that, if it wouldn't connect as a loved one, I would then try to associate it as a spirit guide. And then they'd give me more information, and we could work off of that. So I see a lot of times I'll see people's spirit guides. I personally think that people have multiples, 4 or 5, maybe sometimes more, maybe sometimes less. I'll often see 1 or 2, sometimes 3, depending. And a lot of times it's their dominant spirit guide that I'll see. Sometimes it's just one of the, one person I was talking to, it was like the creative side. It was like their creative guide
Mhm.
that guides that aspect of their life. And so that's helped, because then I can just instantly pick up on that. And a lot of times now I'll feel that, okay, this person isn't a loved one, it's a spirit guide. But there's occasionally times that I have to still ask, this younger male, blah, blah, blah. Is this something that would make sense? And if it doesn't, as a loved one right away, then I lean towards the spirit guide side. But so that's helped. I didn't feel like I was striking out so much anymore.
Well, okay. You're going to have to tell both, especially Scotty and Cassidy, that I'm going to be connecting with them because I have a feeling I need to have them on my show as well.
I think so.
Yeah, like I said, I listened to you with Tim Miley and a couple of other people, and I just think where I see somebody comes into my circle 3 times for an unknown reason, then there's the reason that's when I need to reach out and say, hey, I'm a crazy woman from Canada who has a show. Want to be on it? Because there's no rhyme or reason as to why I do things, at least not to anybody else, is my thing.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, Jenny says, I'm going to invite their spirit guys too. Heck yeah. Nobody's not allowed on my show, well, except Teddy. He's a special guy.
Tim Miley is one of the greatest guys anyone will ever meet.
I know.
And I am so incredibly happy that, just touching on Tim real quick, our very first event, this agent called me up and said, hey, I have this guy. He's going to be on a TV show coming up. He hasn't been on one yet, but his name is Tim Miley. And I, read the information that she sent to me, and I said, oh, that sounds good. And I knew that he did an event in his hometown over there, or near his hometown. So before ours, I called him up a couple times, and I said, hey, I need your advice. And it was like we've known each other forever. We just connected so well. So when he came to the event, it was like I already knew him. We're really good friends. 2 days later, when he is leaving, we're hugging and crying like a couple of babies, because, one of my best buddies is, I don't know when I'm going to see him again. And it was just a bond that will be everlasting. But the things that he does for people, the things that he does for animals.
Yeah.
We're doing another Potographs for Pooches coming up here in March.
It's a big one.
Yeah, we're going to do a big one down in Dundee, down at Old Mill. And I'm super excited to be part of that. And
I do believe I saw your face on his poster.
Yeah, yep. I'm going to be lecturing down there, so that'll be fun. Maybe do a reading or two, but I love helping him out all that I can. He credits Jackie and I quite often when he talks about photographs, which I appreciate, because we were able to do the very first photographs here in our hometown when people in his hometown wouldn't accept it.
Yeah.
And it was really an incredible weekend. Didn't raise a ton of money, but Northern Michigan Animal Rescue Network, who Tim was raising money for, 100% of what they do goes to the animals. I mean, there's no administrative costs and things like that. And they were just happy to, in tears happy to, to get that little bit of money even. And ever since then, I thought I want to be part of this whenever I can. So super excited.
I will definitely share that. I always do with Tim's events, share his poster. But just a quick one. There's Dustin Parry, Scott Tepperman, Tim Woolworth, Adam. I'm not going to even try his last name because I'll crucify it. John Hansen, my guest, Cassidy, Tim Riley, and the adorable Murray Dead Center, March 9th at the Old Mill Museum. So if you're in Dundee, Michigan, get your butts over there. Buy a ticket.
Right. Yeah, we'll be promoting it big time.
Oh yeah. Well, that's one thing I do, and Tim knows it. Is that I'm kind of like a shareaholic. I have to share everything. I want to make sure that everybody's stuff gets out there. Every event, anything that you have, make sure you send it to me because, like, I'm not that big of a deal, but in my own mind I am. So I'll share it wherever I can.
Yeah.
You know, and that includes on my what is that setting? In my Instagram. I share everything everywhere. Like I said, I think these events need to get done. I love Tim and I love what he does. I love the way he works. And he's a big old softy. Thank you, John. See, there you go. I love the way he works and he's a big old softy. But don't tell him I said that. Because Tim was actually the last guest I had when I had cameras. And he was like, I don't do cameras, Daddy. I was like, gotta do cameras. But then it was radio, so, but he was like, do I have my head on? Do I have my head on? No, he's a big old softy. Have you've been doing paranormal investigations since around about 2013 when you came out of your closet. Can you remember your very first official investigation that you did?
Actually, we've been doing it for about 18 years now. Because in '99, when I had that first encounter, that first reading, once we started researching it to try to figure it out, we started doing some investigations. So it was around 2000. I don't recall, and actually I came out of the medium closet in 2013 of when I actually started talking to people about it, and other than the ones that I've read before, but people that didn't know, but I don't remember the first investigation really, and there's just been so many that have stuck out, in my head, but
what's that one that sticks out in your head right now?
Well, we had a very interesting case here in town where there was a gentleman who felt that he had, and I can only say so much, of course, but he felt that he had a spirit that was following him from his old house in a different city to here, and it got really bad. Really bad, where he, would have this thing hovering over top of him. It would be calling him. He's of, and again, it's details. He's of another nationality, and it would make derogatory remarks about his country and his homeland and stuff like that, and would be assaulting to his wife, right to the point where she felt that it was almost, non-physically sexually assaulting. So we came in, we did some things, we were picking up a heavy EMF readings. We did find that outside of the house was a power box which supplied power to this entire apartment building, very large building. And we're thinking that a lot of that EMF might be, wreaking havoc on it. We didn't do cleansings at the time, so we called a dear friend of mine, Deb DeRoos, who I've done many shows with, and she was my co-host for years on a couple different radio shows. And her now husband, RJ, we called them in. They came in. They did some cleansing. It required 2 trips even, and I see him a lot now. One of the places that I shop, and my wife will see him, and we'll touch base with him just to make sure that everything's okay. And he said he still sees it, but it's not a problem anymore. It's kind of just there.
Okay.
And he's okay with that part of it. The one thing we did find out too is that he had actually told the spirit that it was okay that he's there, but he just can't mess with anybody, with his family. So we advised, and Deb advised, and RJ advised against letting the spirit know that it's okay to be there. That's the point. We're getting this thing out of here. We want this thing gone.
Mhm.
But it was a very interesting case. We haven't gotten a lot of really bad energies, where that one seemed to be not demonic, but very dark.
Yeah.
We never really did figure out who it was and why they were there, but
Mhm.
it seems to have mellowed out. But that was quite a case. I mean, we had to bring some people in to help us, and again, that's why people should work together.
Yeah.
So that one kind of really stands out, and there was a very interesting one, and I won't go too long on it, but Tim Miley called me in one day for an investigation in Wisconsin, and he said, "Hey, I have a case I need help on a medium side. Scotty Rorick's not available." He uses Scotty Rorick a lot. Scotty
Mhm.
lives an hour down the road from Tim.
Okay.
He's not available. Can you be here this weekend? Yeah, it's only 6.5 hours. Sure. So I tell my wife, this is the deal. This is what's going on. We make it happen. I drive over there 6.5 hours to find that it's another hour and a half south. So we make the journey south. We're right on the Wisconsin-Illinois border now. And we go into the house, we set up, we talk to the client. He's had phone interviews with her before, so he was somewhat familiar. And I was picking up on these energies that were there. But long story short, without giving out too many details on a case,
Mhm.
I was feeling like it was not necessarily the spirits that were the problem. So we talked to the client. Tim sat down and talked with the client, and as he's watching the live feed videos of us in one of the rooms, he starts talking to her. Well, come to find out, the spirits were basically feeding off of the energy of the family because the son was being abused by the real father.
Okay.
And so this, what we thought was going to be a paranormal investigation, we hardly found any spirits there. But what we did find was anytime they would be there was when the dad was there.
So they came along with the dad.
Yeah.
But,
So
okay.
we were picking up on this, and we were able to conclude that something isn't right here. And in the long run, she was able to, I don't remember what the outcome was him exactly, whether he was arrested or whatnot, but he has no contact with the kid anymore. So, sometimes you go in to do a case for paranormal, and it ends up being something different.
Yeah.
And so that was a very interesting case because it ended up being not paranormal,
Mm.
and the only spirit that I saw there that was actually attached to the house was a little kid. And
Cool.
he wasn't doing any harm. So yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah. Jenny in the chat room said she just did a show on something similar to that, thought forms and manifestation. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
it's amazing what, you know, a lot of people go, oh, you know, it's just a bunch of hooey, you know, imagine it and it's you know, just thought, thinking that it's going to make it happen, it's not going to make it happen, but it does. We just, you know, sometimes you don't realize it until it, you know, pops you in the head.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. Now, can you remember, we're going to call this your funniest investigation? Something that just had you, well, for me it would be giggle fits. Something that just sort of came out of left field, but it wasn't anything negative, or it was just funny. Because I hear a lot of investigations are very serious and very intense, but I know Spirit out there, Spirit has a good sense of humor. Aside from, you know, if you were a butthead when you were here, you're going to be a butthead over there. If you're funny over here, you're going to be funny over there. And I've heard a lot of different people say, you know, like, I'm not going to go into one, but one, the young man who was here, he was rather obnoxious, but in a funny sense. And now that he's working through spirits, he's working as spirits through people here, he's doing it the same way. So, have you ever had?
This is where I slow the show down and say no.
That's okay.
I cannot think of anything really right off the top of my head of anything like that happened.
Yay, 2 points. I stumped the guess.
But if it does, I'm going to interrupt the next question with it. So,
considering one thing you're going to learn about me is I never have a list of questions. I just kind of, you know, go with the flow, and sometimes I'll make, you know, more, notes. You should see the paperwork that I have in this house. It needs to be cleaned up. But
my wife just popped in the office here and reminded me of one.
Boss lady. Hi, Jackie.
It's not a very long one, but she was listening in the other room, and she comes in and whispers to me. Yeah, we're at the Terrace Inn here in town, and funny enough, this involves Tim Miley. But we're doing an investigation, a public investigation. Tim Woolworth was there. I'm trying to think of who else, but it was for the event. We had 2 investigations going, and this was one of them. But we were upstairs in this room of a 100-and-some-year-old 3-story hotel that apparently was built as a Hilton at one time, or when it was built. And we're in this room, and Tim's asking some questions, and you're hearing this knocking on this dresser right next to me. And so I take the flashlight and I shine, and I'm like, I'm not tapping this. You can look at where my hands and my legs and feet are. I'm not tapping this, you know, in response. And then Tim kind of says, he could feel a hand in his pocket. And then and he said, something's touching my junk. And of course, you know Tim. So he said, I'm dead serious. Something is touching me there. So this went on for a little bit, and it was funny to all of us. A little while later, we're on the 2nd floor. This was up on the 3rd. We're on the 2nd floor. Tim Woolworth, who's an ITC specialist, just incredible, has these incredible devices. And we're doing a session and I don't recall the name of the person, but this woman comes through and says, so-and-so is the groper. I mean, clear as bell, blames this other female entity for being the groper. And we all knew what that meant.
Well, at least it was a female.
That's true. At least he feels a little better about it. But yeah, that was quite the funny experience.
Okay. I think I remember Tim talking about that at some point, but I think it was on his show. But yeah. that would be interesting to say the least.
Yeah, that was quite funny. And of course, wouldn't have been as funny if Tim wasn't involved,
Yeah, because Tim's got a good sense of humor. Whether it comes to human or spirit, I think that just proves it. I think the groper knew exactly who to grope.
Oh yeah, it said Vicky's the groper.
Okay. Vicky knew exactly who to grope.
That's funny.
Thank you, Jackie. Okay. Now, one of the things that you said, you did a remote in Winnipeg. Was that the only remote that you've ever done?
For the most part, other than, once in a while sending a message to Tim or something and saying, hey, you have an investigation coming up. For some reason I'm feeling this or seeing this. But as far as real-time working with a group remotely,
Mm-hmm.
I worked on 2 or 3 of their cases with them. One of them, I think, was, a public investigation, but one of them was a case that they had. And I don't remember all the details. I have a tendency to, one, because I'm 50, not remember all of the details of readings and stuff. I like people to remind me later of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of it, to me, is because it's not my thoughts.
Yeah.
It's them coming through, and I'm relaying it, so I'm not taking it in memory. But I do recall it, being interesting because not only was I picking stuff up about the case, but I was picking stuff up about some of her team members and some personal things that were going on. So it was nice because basically this person needs to remove themselves from this investigation for the night because their energy of the house and the energy of things that are going on with them are just clashing, and it's not good. So yeah, it was great. I like working with them when I can, and I'd certainly help others, on investigations if I can. And there's been times that they'll message me when they're going on a case, and just recently, actually, like 2 weeks ago, if anything comes up, let us know. Didn't pick up anything, so.
So you were kind of over in Canada without crossing the border.
Yeah.
Have you ever had somebody, and I don't know why I'm asking this, call you up and not for a mediumship reading per se, because I know you say you don't do it all the time, but it's sort of like, okay, I call you up and go, hey, John, something's going on here, and I'm not sure what it is, and it's not, because it's not the person who wants a mediumship reading, but they have something that, for some reason, they chose you to call, and I'm not sure exactly why I'm asking this question, but okay.
Either called or if I've run into somebody. There's times that I'll read them as a person instead of loved ones.
Okay.
or we're at an event or something like that, and I start talking to them, and they think that they're going to hear from loved ones, and I'm actually kind of telling them about themselves. So things that I'm picking up about them, and maybe some of the things that they could do to help that. And it's almost like a paranormal counselor or something.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I'll be able to actually pick up on their feelings, and a lot of times I feel what they're feeling. I can't read their mind and, okay, you're thinking of the color red right now. And they say, well, no, it's kind of an off maroon, but you're close. But I can feel their energy, their the things that are going on with them, sometimes their pains. Sometimes I'll do that to my wife, where all of a sudden I'll come up and I'll all of a sudden put my hand somewhere and say, "Ooh, what's going on here?" And are you feeling pain here? And I don't know if I could do that to other people, because it's just something you don't do.
One thing putting your wife on your hands on your wife, but it's, somebody, yeah.
Yeah. Lay down on your stomach. Let me feel your back.
And your wife's standing there going, what are you doing?
I was like, no, I don't think so. Let me feel your backside with my foot.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, that's happened before, where I read them more on a personal level than a medium level. Or sometimes if I'm even talking to someone, chatting with someone on Facebook Messenger, what's going on with you? I really feel like this is happening, or this is the way that I'm feeling. And I always say I'm feeling, because temporarily I do feel that, So if I were you, this is what I would feel. So
Jenny in the chat room says, you can't grope strangers, you're not spirits.
But Vicki can. And she will. And we'll be back there this weekend, so maybe Vicki will show herself again.
Is Tim going to be there?
Unfortunately, no. This is the very first, and my wife and I both felt terrible. We have so many people that want to come to the event as speakers, which is great. We love it. Obviously,
that's a good thing.
People are hearing good things, and we had so many people lined up. I talked to Tim, and everybody knows Tim's story mostly.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, we have a table, but we don't have any speaking room left. We pretty much took in too many people. And it's hard for him to do an event without speaking, because that's when the people that don't know him really crowd his table, so it worked out where he said, well, let me take a break from it this year. I told him later, everything happens for a reason. If he did our event, he wouldn't have been able to do photographs down in Houghton Lake, which is a couple hours south of us. And it was by far the biggest money-making event.
Yeah, I know. I watched it. I was pushing it. I was glad. I think. And he came home with a new baby.
And he came home with a new baby, yep. So if he came to our event, none of that would have happened. Yeah. So as bad as we feel about it, of not having him here, because it really isn't the same without Tim, there's a reason for it. And now we know what that reason was. So, because he can only do so many events a year with vacation time. So
unfortunately, we can't clone Tim, even though we would like to.
We'd like to send someone to work, and he can tour all summer.
Exactly. We'd have to give him 3. Send someone to work, someone to do his events, and keep someone with Murray.
Yeah, that's true.
With Murray and Molly.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I'm not sure why I asked that question. Hold on. Thanks, Gemini. Have a good night, sweetie. But when I get a shiver, there's a reason I have to do something, and so I got shivered to ask this one, so done. The shivers have stopped.
Mm-hmm.
All right. See, I even lost, because of that, I lost. Okay. What of all the things that you do and have done, is there anything that's on your bucket list?
Oh. Paranormal related?
Well, yeah. No, actually anything. What is it that John Cassidy, that his wife will allow him to do, other than jump out of an airplane or a helicopter with a bungee cord? You
That
know.
will never happen. I love helicopters,
Hmm.
but I'll sit by the door. I will sit by the door with it open for a while. This guy won't be leaving it no matter what's attached to him. So
Unless his feet hit the ground right away.
that's right. So that's not on the list. Well, non-paranormal related, which you could almost relate it, is Ireland. We're definitely planning to go to Ireland 2020. So that's a big bucket list. Paranormal related.
Why Ireland?
Because that's where my family's from, actually. And the Cassidy name is a very unique name because they were actually, the Cassidy family actually was able to trace it back, and there's a website, of all the clans throughout the world, and that there's 5 different spellings of Cassidy's. They all originated from the same family. So they've pretty much determined that if you're a Cassidy by blood, you are basically related. So we refer to ourselves as relatives, not other Cassidys. So every 3 years they have the Cassidy clan gathering, family reunion, and it's in Ireland. We've been wanting to get over there, plus to just want to see the country. I mean, both of our families are from there, and my great-great-great-grandfather came over with some of the kids, which were adult children at the time also, in 1883, and settled in northern Michigan here in 1886. So we were able to, trace back our family a long ways, and some of the, famous relatives and things like that. And it's been fun doing that studying, and now we want to go to Ireland and dig up even more information on my family and hers.
Oh, okay.
So that'll be neat.
No, because I have a friend who's going over to Ireland next week, I think it is, or the week after, because he got a past life reading a few years back that who he was in a past life, and he did research to, like, the description that he got. He did research, and he found out exactly who the gentleman was and exactly everything about him, and there's so many things that he can connect the dots to, that he's going over to find out a little bit more about him. And one of the things he never realized was the gentleman who he was in a past life had this major mustache that kind of went down the side of his face. And he never had a mustache, like, not like this. He had the little, the little caterpillar on the top lip type of thing as a kid. But he always stroked his face that way, And I was like, when he showed me the picture of the guy, I said, that kind of figures. He said, why? I said, because you stroke your face like that mustache would be, where it would be whenever you talk about him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going over there. Him and his wife are going over, like, I believe it's this week or next. They're spending 10 days there, and they're going to meet family that's over there and just investigate who it is. So yeah.
Wow, that would be neat.
Yeah.
Would be.
Ireland has a lot of interesting places. A friend of mine here, she went over. She'd always wanted to go to Ireland, and she went over a couple of years ago. And as a joke, I said to her, I said, "Do not bring me back any leprechauns." And didn't she go over and fall in love over in Ireland? And he came over this summer, and they got married. So that was, I said, that's the only reason I'm allowing you to bring this leprechaun over is because I know he makes you smile. This is the only person in a long time that made her smile without having a question mark over her head. So, but Ireland's a good place.
Yeah.
Scotland, on the other hand, got a little man with kilts.
Yeah, we'll stay away from there.
Aw, I'm gonna send Jackie the yoga, the kilt yoga.
There we go.
You might be going to Ireland to Scotland.
Maybe I'll bring a kilt home with me.
Oh yeah, find the Cassidy kilt. The Cassidy tartan would be interesting to see, and the coat of arms. Okay, so your bucket list for your paranormal.
Oh,
Is there a specific place you want
I think, like anybody, we love residentials, but we obviously love the haunted locations to have fun in too. I think one of them that really kind of sticks out in my head that I would really love to visit is, and I haven't yet, Trans-Allegheny.
Okay.
All the stories that I've heard, it's just one of the places that I've always wanted to go. So that's definitely on the list.
And is there? Jenny wants to know if you've ever been to the Stanley Hotel yet.
No, but that would be on the list. Maybe a little farther down from Trans-Allegheny. But yeah, that would be on the list as well. Other than New Mexico, Albuquerque, I haven't investigated anywhere that I can think of over the west side of the Mississippi. So anything on the west side of the Mississippi that would be really cool would be on my list, and the Stanley would definitely be one of them.
Okay. Carrie in the chat room says you would have fun at Trans-Allegheny. She's heard a lot of stories. USS Liner? With a question mark. Is there a ship that involved with that?
With Allegheny?
Yeah.
That's what I know.
Okay. I'm sure Carrie will pop in there. Why she put in USS Liner? With a question. California.
Yeah. Probably the Queen Mary.
Ooh.
I think that's what she's referring to. If it is the Queen Mary is, that's someplace I'd really like to go to. I'd probably put it on my top 10 list.
Okay.
But I'd definitely go there. And Waverly in Kentucky, I've never been there yet either.
I've heard a lot of people have that one on their bucket list.
Yeah. Been close. We went to Bobby Mackey's, got as far as the parking lot. And I don't know, the energy that I felt from the parking lot at that point, I really just felt like I didn't want to go anywhere closer to the place. So, so we loaded up, went back up to post town, again, north of Cincinnati. But yeah, been to the parking lot. But Waverly, I would love to go to Waverly sometime.
And is there anybody on your wish list that you would like to work with? Because you've worked with so many. Now, I have to say, it has to be somebody you haven't worked with, because you work with so many people. Find somebody you haven't worked with that you really want to. No, I stumped my guest again. Does Jackie go on investigations with you?
Oh yeah, yeah, very much so. I don't know. I think I would like to work an actual investigation with Nick Groff. I've met him numerous times. You know, we've had conversations, but never investigated with him. I think he would be interesting to investigate with. And maybe one of his former partners, Aaron. I've been down that road with Zach and have no interest in that. And I know that he's high on many people's lists, but I think Nick would be great. But you know, like you said, I've investigated with so many, and I'm not bragging. I've just been fortunate enough to have investigated with so many that it's tough to actually come up with one. You know, John Zaffis is great to investigate with, and Katrina Weidman. Have not investigated with her, although Saturday she will be here investigating, or Friday night, so I'll be able to work with her. But just so many of them that have been great to work with, that I've been able to learn so much from. Dustin Perry, he's phenomenal to work with.
You'll be working with him at he's on Ghost Hunters International. He'll be at the Phonograph for Pooches of the Old Mill. Dustin Perry.
Yep. He's going to be here Friday also, so he'll be here. We'll work together again. He's been here a few times. He loves coming back, which is very cool. So he will be here again.
Okay, so at your Parafest, Little Traverse Bay Parafest Volume Number 6, Katrina, Dustin, Joe Chin, Daniel, I'm reading off the poster in the Tim Woolworth, Exie,
yeah.
Suzanne Smith, Brian, I cannot read that. I should have learned it. Oh, there's, figured it out.
Danhausen?
Amber Rose, yes, Brian Danhouse, Amber Rose Hammond, Rebecca, hopefully I don't torture anybody's name, and Deb and Ray DeRossi.
Yeah, Deb and RJ DeRoos, they're the ones that I mentioned earlier, working that case where they came up and cleansed. Phenomenal people. They do a radio show together right now, and just one of our dearest friends. We just love them to pieces. But Exie would be a great one to have on your show. She really kind of opened up when she came up to one of our events, and now she's just incredible. I mean, she has opened herself up, and she's, you know, worked with many different people and been able to really connect to spirit. And she does group readings. She's doing one next Sunday here. She's doing a gallery reading, and she'd be phenomenal to have on.
Well, do warn her that you said I could call. I could message her.
Yeah. I'll put you in contact with her, because she's just a delight all the way around. Great person.
Oh, it's going to be fun. Oops, where'd you go? Oops, I moved my chat room. All right. Well, we're almost out of time, but I am so over the moon to agree to come on the show, and I hope this is tiring. I'm getting down to almost figuring out how to put music on the show so that I can give my guests a break, so I'm not chit chattering for 2 hours. But 2 hours goes pretty quickly when you're not thinking about it. And I hope that you had fun.
It did. I really like doing shows that are just general conversation of, who are you and what do you like to do?
Yeah, because somebody once said, I'm not a dog and pony show, and that's what they like about me. And I know, like I said, so many people are like, oh, my God, you're having John Cassidy on. Is he going to do readings? Is he going to? No, I want to get to know him because I don't know. Everybody that comes on my show are not my personal closest, dearest friends, so I don't know everything about them. Even my personal and closest dear friends, I don't know everything about them either. So it's me getting to know you, and everybody else who's in the chat room and who listens in the archives gets to know who, John Cassidy is. Because like I said, your name is out there so much, and I've heard Tim use your name, I've seen you on, but I've never spoken to you. So this is what this is. That's why I call it a conversation with friends.
Yeah,
I do hope in the new year that if I have connections in the high places, I'm going to do maybe a longer show and just do an all reading show. Just have a bunch of people come in and do readings, and because most people know that if I sit there and say there might be readings, usually the first show that I have a guest in, there's never any readings because it's just we chit chat too much and have so much fun. So, but you are always very welcome.
I would love to come back and chat some more and do some readings as well.
Cool. Well, when you have a moment from your busy schedule, I should probably talk to Jackie because we book his schedule.
She's my manager, agent, as well as my wife and best friend because
she's a boss
someone's got to keep me in line.
Mhm. Well, so maybe I'll have the wives on it, and we'll have a dish about the husbands.
That sounds good.
Jackie's already brought it. Okay, we'll tell Darlene about this. Well, we're going to sign out. I want to thank everybody who came into the chat room, Donna, Raven, Brooks, Jenny, and a couple of guests, and Carrie, and everybody else who was here who had to leave because they have lives, and I just jabber on for forever. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, John, for being a doll that everybody says you are, and you actually are.
Why, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it very much.
And like I said, any shows that you have coming up, any investigations, anything you want to publicize, send me the information, send me the postings, post it on, tag me in it, post. I don't care. I like to share. I like people to get their information and their good work out there. So everybody, I thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you next weekend. And I can't remember, such a good host that I am, who my guest is for next week. Even though Mary Barrett. There we go. Mary will be my guest on next week's show. So everybody have a lovely rest of the evening. I'm gonna go stuff my face on a nice rib stew. Night, John. I will. Thanks very much, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.